welcome everybody. It's quite a time like no other, and I feel like we, especially the ones who reach out to children and families, are called upon to be inventive. So I wanted to just bring us all together in the same virtual space to talk about what we're doing, what's working, what's not working, how we're reaching children and families right now. And we've always, in these quarterly children and families ministry meetings, I always get so much. So it just felt like it's time to virtually gather and swap stories and share best practices. So thanks for joining in. Here's our little agenda for the day. Very complicated. So what's working for you? We can go around and introduce ourselves, and maybe do that as our topic of conversation. And then later as a group, we can just sort of brainstorm what didn't work. We tried it and wouldn't recommend it. And then there's a couple of things I'd like to promote that are ahead, a couple meetings, one for Godly Play, done virtually. Others, like a messy church demonstration that you might really appreciate as a way moving forward. And then finally, other resources out there. And that should be pretty brief. I think primarily we're just going to spend time on the what's working for you. And I would just love to turn it over to you all. And so should we go down just in the order that you came into the meeting? Does that seem fair or unfair? I think early people should be punished at all times, since I tend to run late. Not really. Katya, do you mind starting? Just kind of name, church, what's working for you? And if you have a screen you would like to share, just let me know and I'll stop sharing mine.
Sure. I don't have anything to share. I'm sorry. So my name is Katya Nemek. I'm the Associate for Children, Youth, and Family Ministries at Emmanuel Church on Mercer Island. What's working for me right now is I pre-record Godly Play videos, and that's on our church Facebook page. I have a playlist there for Godly Play videos for people to access whenever they want. And every Sunday at 11 a.m., I just have a check-in for families. It's Children's Chapel. And I realize with really young children, it's really hard to keep their attention. So we keep it as short as possible. So we do some faith formation. And what I've done is every time we do the Lord's Prayer, but the hand motions. And this is great for the young kids because they get to learn the Lord's Prayer that way. And then we do highs and lows and we pray for each other, and the kids really appreciate that. And then it's just like open show and tell time, and kids talk about what they're doing. And it's 30 minutes because that's really all our young kids can give. And it works really well. And so I'm hoping to get out of this what to do for like older kids, because that seems to be a challenge. It's even harder virtually to have like the schoolhouse model with kids in kindergarten and kids in 3rd and 4th grade. Like it's just too hard to manage the differences there. But yeah, that's it for me.
Would you mind demonstrating the Lord's Prayer and the signs that you're using?
Okay.
And you can say no.
That's fine. Sure. Let's see. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right.
Wow, that's cool.
That's so cool. Thanks for chiming in, Jim. Let's go to Josh, please.
Okay, I'm Josh Hostler. I'm the rector of Good Shepherd in Federal Way. We are a small to medium-sized congregation that skews older. We only really have a handful of kids. And before this pandemic, I had griped kind of privately about how we could never have a youth group because I was the only person in the whole congregation who wanted to hang out with the youth. Well, suddenly when there are no sports and there's no need to drive the kids anywhere and there's nothing else in the way, this seemed like a great time to launch a youth group, just to do it. And I found one other adult who was willing to just show up at youth group when she can make Zoom work, which is sometimes. And when she can't, then I just call on one of the kids' parents to be present, safeguarding and all that. So I'll share a picture with you. So this gets across just how small the group is, but for starters, there we are. And that's there has also been a friend of the kid in the upper left. The kid in the upper left is the granddaughter of our musician. She is completely unchurched, but has really come to love the youth group in the first 3 weeks that we've done it. The one in the upper right is my daughter. The one in the lower left is moving away. And so you can see we have some challenges ahead of us to have any sort of group at all. On that topic, the one in the lower left who's moving away has a younger brother. We've been doing Godly Play online, such as it is. And what we're finding is that, no, you can't really do Godly Play online in the sense that it's intended to be. Right, you can tell a story, you can hold up the card, you can tell the story. But what we found, there was one amazing moment when that girl's little brother, who's 6, after the Godly Play story, after we had done our favorite part and most important part and all that, commented on the fact that his older sister is graduating from high school and then she was going to be gone. And his dad has already moved to the East Coast and they're going to follow, but he's already gone. And his older sister, who's in the 8th grade, well, in a few years she'll graduate and then she's going to be gone. And it just feels like his whole family is falling apart. So there was a space for that. And at that point, his mother zoomed in, right, and said, okay, she's never heard him talk like this before. So we're finding that Godly Play is even a place for young kids to at least share what's on their minds. So those two things, continuing Godly Play online and then trying to start a youth group, that's occupying some of my time, and I have no clue what that looks like on the other side of the pandemic.
Very awesome. Thank you, Josh.
Josh, can I ask a quick question? Where are you located?
Where am I right now physically in space?
I'm sorry. Where is the general hub of your youth group located? What church?
Oh, sorry. I'm from Good Shepherd Federal Way.
I've got so many thoughts in my head. You just sparked some thoughts. But this is share time. So bye. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Great.
It's all good. And you can put questions or thoughts or ideas in the chat too, right? And we'll use that as a place to collect anything that we need to address at the end. I'm channeling you too. Jim, maybe there's a room for collaboration if another church has a small group of youth and wants to get, is that where you're going? Because
I'll add real quick that another thing we just did, Bonnie Malone at Maple Valley, St. George Maple Valley, invited all the region's youth groups to come to a May the 4th be with you party. I was the only one who I think picked up the call, and only my daughter and I came. But it was a good beginning of an effort. All the other kids in my group were too shy for anything like that.
So good. Thank you. All right. I'm kind of losing the order thing, but I know Elaine was there and then Mary, and then we'll just go to sort of a random procession. So Elaine.
Awesome. Hello. I am Elaine Ogden, and I work as the Children, Youth, and Family Minister at St. Columba's Episcopal Church in Kent, Washington. We have been actually pretty busy from my standpoint over at St. Columba's. We are continuing to do our Sunday morning service. We have like a whole production team that goes on Sunday mornings to do that. What else? I am hosting youth group twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. The format of that right now is we play a game and we do prayer requests, and that's it. And it's just the 40-minute free period that you get from Zoom, and that kind of limits our ability to be together, but we do it twice a week, and I think it's been working really well. Let's see what else I got going. I'm about to send out a Pentecost mailer with some balloons, just to kind of make it more festive. It's going to be like happy birthday to the church, Pentecost. so that they're just getting a little bit of mail. Especially, I think our younger kids will be excited to get a little bit of mail from the church and be able to celebrate at home. And in there, I'm also going to have some celebration at home Pentecost ideas, like you could bake a cake and say happy birthday to the church. So yeah, I got lots of good stuff going on over here. We just did our Good Shepherd Sunday kids and youth takeover. So we recorded the youth doing prayers of the people. We had children reading all the readings and the gospel. We had our vicar's family did a musical number that they put into the service, which was pretty adorable, of her and her kids singing together. Let's see. And then we actually, one really exciting part was we had one of our families at church record at-home godly play lesson. So they recorded doing it at home with their children, and it was just the most adorable thing. And I think it's up on our Facebook page if you want to check it out. It was about 15 minutes long. We put it in place of the sermon for Good Shepherd Sunday, and it fills my soul. Like, that's just all I want for the rest of time is parents doing godly play at home with their kids, right? Oh gosh, what else have we got? Oh, I am starting a children's spirituality series on Facebook. There's like a mode on Facebook where you can release episodes as a part of your series. So I'm going to be releasing like episodes of children's spirituality, and the idea behind that was that we are trying to equip our parents at home to be like the primary communicators of God to their kids. So the primary formers of their kids. So we're going to be talking about praying with kids. We're going to talk about this week, I'm hoping to get like introducing diverse images of God for children and seeing God beyond like the, old white man narrative. Yeah, so there's lots of things going on at St. Columba's, and it's a little overwhelming to name all of them. I guess more will come up as we talk today. Yeah, thank you.
I know you would think at this time it would be less overwhelming since we're not in person, but has anyone else felt so overwhelmed or more overwhelmed? Because that's kind of the space I'm in right now as well. It's ironic. Okay, so Mary, should we go to you? We'll go across the screen. It looks like mine.
So I'm Mary Nilsson from Church of the Redeemer in Kenmore. And I'm really grateful that I already had 2.5 years under my belt before this happened. And I'm really grateful too that for Better Together, I was all prepared and had brought a lot of things home so that I could make whatever space I was going to be presenting in look kind of like a classroom. So I had all the stuff at home. And so I've set up our piano benches, the altar, and various icons and things that would normally be in the classroom are all there. So it's really, it's nice that the kids have things that are familiar to them. And that actually confuses them a bit because they say, "Where are you, Miss Mary?" And I say, "Well, I'm in my living room." The first 5 weeks, I was just sending out materials to parents, and I discovered that all the parents were on overwhelm. And even though I spent hours preparing stuff, very few of them were able to concentrate on doing any of those things. I asked the parents if they did a lesson with the kids to take a picture of something that they created and to send it to me so I could put it in a newsletter. And so that got a little bit of interest. And finally, Easter was the first day I was feeling well enough to do a Zoom session. And I was really fortunate. I had already made the Mother Mary of Jesus Godly Play lesson, and it was here. And I had the last item of that class or of that session is putting down forget-me-nots. And that's what, Mary is remembered through forget-me-nots. And I had a package of seeds So I sent seeds to all the kids that Zoomed with me on that day, with a request that they, find a place to plant the seeds. And I sent a butterfly and asked them to decorate it and then show it to me next time we Zoomed together. And so that kind of interaction with the kids has been way more successful. So I guess we're 5 weeks in now on Zooming, and the numbers keep going up every day, or every week, which is great. But was it Katya? The age range problem. I'm the solo person, and I can have a 2-year-old through 12. And so I prepare, I touch on the gospel. I have 4 or 5 lessons or ideas that I'm ready to jump in with, depending on who shows up. And I've tried to bring in tangible ideas, like the week that the gospel was the road to Emmaus and the breaking of the bread. I did a demonstration of, wheat stalks and the wheat kernels, and then it becomes flour, and what yeast is, and that yeast is alive, and just trying to bring in some ideas that the kids could really kind of touch and feel. Good Shepherd Sunday, I'm a knitter, and I have fleece and I have spinning wheels, and so I introduced those ideas too. And then I'm still in the process of sending fleece to the children, actual little curly lamb's wool. So just something that they can receive after I've taught the lesson and remember something about it. And like Elaine, for Pentecost, so these are little streamery doves, Holy Spirit doves, that the last 2 years the kids have processed with the choir during the Pentecost service, which obviously won't be happening this year. So I'll be mailing these to them. So I'll incorporate it into the lesson that I teach that day. So just trying to keep changing things up and making it work.
Love the props idea. And is that your background that you use? Is your altar back there, or your godly classroom?
No. This
You're
is
not in your living room.
I no. I'm in the loft, which is called Redeemer North. So,
I would love to see that if you want to tour us down to that part of your house, but we'll move on in the meanwhile.
Okay.
And Jason, how about you?
So I'm actually here more to get ideas, because I have done, I've forwarded some Godly Play lessons in our weekly emails, and by virtue of the platform we use, I know how many clicks each of those are getting, and it's for the first several weeks it was 0, because like a couple of you have said, families have reached capacity, or they're functioning beyond capacity, trying to balance online distance learning in schools. And I had one mother say, I just can't add one more thing on a computer screen for my kid right now, which I totally get. So I'm anxious to hear good ideas. I will say our youth group, Terry Quantra is pulling our youth group together twice a month via Zoom, and she's had great success with that. In fact, she's having more via Zoom than she would have in person, precisely because nothing else is going on right now. So that's been good. And I'll let Sue talk about Camp Res in a Box. So I'll stop there.
Beautiful. And that's fine. I don't want anyone feeling pressured to share. If you came to just watch, that's absolutely valid. I know there's a lot of good things going on in every church, but new ideas are always welcome. Beth, do you want to chime in, introduce yourself, and if you have anything to share, go right ahead.
I'm the coordinator for children, youth, and families at our church, St. Paul's in Port Townsend. And really what that means is that we've got 9 children total in our church, and probably only about 4 that come with any regularity. And their ages are from 6 to 10, with one very shy 12-year-old, extremely shy. So she fits in well. I too am aware, and I've heard from families that they're just overwhelmed with Zoom, and I've talked to the kids. And none of them seems very excited about Zoom unless they can chat to their friends during school. So what I've been doing instead, because I'm a journalist, is I write a weekly lesson in our weekly electronic newsletter. So I'll do something from the gospel, or talk about gratitude, or talk about when they're sad and what does Jesus say, or what can we lean on. I also try to include some kind of lesson or activity. So during Earth Day week, which we celebrate big time, I left out dahlia bulbs over at church for the kids, little bags each, and how to plant them. And I told the kids all about that. And a number of them actually did go over there in their own time to pick up their bags of dahlias and planted them. But probably the most successful thing, and I'm not real sure about how much the kids get the lessons and stuff, but the most successful thing that we've been doing is every week I have something called the Children's Spotlight. And I have interviewed one by one each week a child and talk to their parents. We do it over the phone, and I hear how they're doing and get mom and dad or grandma and grandpa to send me a photo. And so there's something special in a one-on-one situation. It also gives me we usually spend about half an hour on the phone, and I've got a real better sense of what's going on with our families. In fact, I think I feel closer to them now than I have before all this happened. So it's been a really nice thing. And they feel really special and seen and recognized. And that I get lots and lots of good feedback from them. Plus, our church is predominantly old folks. And some of these children, they're meeting for the first time because they go to an earlier service or they don't get to church. So it's been kind of a feel-good exercise. But as far as Zoom, I'm avoiding it because these are younger kids, and most every one of them has told me they don't like doing Zoom on school. And mom and dads are overwhelmed. So that's it.
Awesome. The Children's Spotlight, so you get their picture. Do you actually do a little publication of them, like in the e-news?
Oh, yeah.
Or, okay, so you share that back out to the congregation?
We send it out in our church newsletter it goes out electronically for most everyone and gets printed and mailed to the non-computer types in the congregation. So that comes out every week. And actually, I think I'm getting more good feedback from the old folks than the families on the actual articles. So it's fun.
And I love Children's Spotlight as a name.
Mm-hmm.
That's wonderful. Mm-hmm. Thanks, Beth. James, we'll go to you.
All right. Hi, I'm James Thibodeau. I'm at St. Christopher's Community Church in Olympia, which is a federated congregation, Episcopal and ELCA. I'm an Episcopal priest in the Diocese of Olympia, so but Lutheran trained also. So Annika, my spouse, is at the center of a sort of diffused group of leadership for our children's program. And so I'm kind of a surrogate here because they really can take all the credit for what's going on. I have just been applauding in the background. We had a lot of it has been, I would say, just more pastoral outreach. So we have two kids that are in the midst of it. So that, a second grader and a fourth grader. So that really works to our advantage, but it's really hard to sort of just conjure a second grader and a fourth grader into your family if you don't have one. So that's not always something that you can just replicate. But we've been, teaming up to do just sort of organic play dates and stuff like that on Zoom. We did a Netflix watch party. That didn't work, so we moved it over to Zoom and did a share screen, which did work. Just don't tell the copyright people about that. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend having a large event where you advertise that you're going to watch Wreck-It Ralph Wrecks the Internet on your Zoom because you'll run into problems. You can do that with a Netflix party, but you can't do that via Zoom. You probably would be fine getting away with locking your meeting and then saying, and tonight I have a special surprise. We're going to watch whatever, and be okay. But copyright's a huge issue these days. So that's one of the things I've been working on. We found in our Sundays and Seasons, which it provides a lot of, it's sort of like the Right series for the Episcopal Church. The Sundays and Seasons does the evangelical Lutheran worship side and has copyright permissions and service planning, but it also puts out children's bulletins. So we just got a subscription to that. We'll be sending out some children's bulletins. But I'm with a lot of other families there. Our kids are pretty up to here with how much stuff is going on, which is why we're going to do this. And I recommend it to you. It is Living Compass. It's wellness for parents. All the resources are free online. They're PDFs. I'll put the label in here, the URL. Living Compass comes out of the Diocese of Colorado, out of Chicago. Scott Stoner is an Episcopal priest. He's the director, and a very approachable man. And Edith, who also does a lot of the assisting and directing, is also very hands-on. Good stuff. They use a compass that is found right here. They break down wellness to heart, soul, strength, mind, which should sound familiar. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength, or whatever order that is in. And then they break each of those categories into two more: organization and, emotions and different things like that. So then they provide a lot of reflection and inspiration without a lot of advice. So the philosophy tends to be just sort of checking in with yourself and sharing the journey with others, and just having a moment of mindfulness actually will do a lot for self-correction and sharing of wisdom through, I statements and one another's journeys. So we'll be doing that. They have no copyright issues, so you can, and they encourage you to pull, yank, and stuff, their stuff, including taking their, this says 28-day guide. We're not going to do a big, commitment thing. We're going to pull out those lessons and do them as one-off events on a regular basis so people can feel like they can jump in, jump out. And we're doing this with our youth group partner, who's a United Methodist Church. So she's the parent of teenagers, and I'm the parent of elementary students. And so we're going to offer that together via Zoom for our folks. So there you go. That's that just came about yesterday after, stuff like this. And I just joined this today because I found it like 2 minutes before it started.
Hey, fabulous.
So thank you for the warm welcome. I am absolutely inspired, and I feel very ministered to by your by what you're doing and how you feel or inundated. It's really nice to know that we're all not alone in this. I may be, with your permission, yanking some of your stuff off of your sites and sharing it on our own sites, maybe with video introductions for myself, saying to our church, hey, you got to check this out. See what, St. Columba's is doing. It's really cool. I posted the video, and then, posting St. Columba's, because there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. I don't, yeah. So beg, borrow, and steal. Copy and steal everything. I think our bishop calls it the case method.
Oh,
I'm done.
Is that a direct quote, really?
Yes.
Okay.
The case method from Bishop, Bishop Rickle, Bishop Reg quotes, it says, use the case method, copy and steal everything.
I hadn't heard that, but James, thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. And you and Annika should chime in with our children and families regular quarterly meetings. We'll be doing them virtually as long as we have to, but they're really fun in person. We get lunch for everybody, and it's just another sharing free-for-all where we all are pretty happy if somebody borrows our stuff, and even happier if they give us credit for it too, I would add. Okay, moving on to Kelly.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to see you.
Kelly, haven't seen you in ages.
I know, good to see you, James. So we've done a lot of things, and I will try to stick to what has worked, but let me know if you want to hear more about what has not worked, because we have a nice list of those too.
Where are you from, Kelly? I'm sorry.
I'm at St. Mark's Cathedral in Seattle. So one thing that's really worked for us is to do an anonymous survey. We did it on SurveyMonkey of our families to hear more from them about what their lives were like right now. And it helped us kind of pinpoint exactly how we wanted to minister to them because we realized, we were just guessing otherwise. And from that has come an offering that's going to be on May 24th. It's a mental health webinar. And I imagine that you could invite your families to come as well. 2 psychologists in our parish are going to offer it. It's called Stress, Depression, Anxiety, and Grief, and How to Tell the Difference. And both of them work with children and families, so there should be, a lot of material that's directly related to parents in this season. We have done, I won't call it godly play, but what we've done is meet with kids and families by Zoom and tell a story and send them an email ahead of time and ask them to bring some materials together. So they had a nativity scene and we told the story of the Holy Family and they could move the pieces with us and then do some work around it. Or when we did the synagogue in the upper room, we had kids build a fort and be part of the story in their fort. So just trying to think of some kind of interactive ways for the story to happen at home for them. That's worked pretty well. And then the last thing I'll say is we've tried to come up with screen-free ways to connect. And Rebecca, the choir school director, and I have created a prayer podcast where we name specific families each week. We change the families that we name. And it includes like a verse and a song, the Lord's Prayer, the naming of 2 families, and like a positive, have a good day kind of message. And it's, it's 5 minutes long. The kids get excited about hearing their names, and it just gives an alternative format for kids and families to pray and kind of be connected.
Is there some way we can listen to your podcast?
Yes, I'll send you the link.
That would be great. Awesome.
And Kelly, I wanted to thank you. You sent out something for Easter. You had 3 videos, I think. You did. It was beautiful, and I shared it with our kids in our newsletter. It was just it was such a beautiful, simple way for the kids to understand Easter week, remember it again. So thank you.
So maybe a link to that too would be in order. That's a good promo. Thanks, Beth. All right, Elizabeth.
I'm so glad to be, can you hear me? Yeah, sorry, I am living the true multitasking life right now. As you can see, I have a 1st grader on a Zoom call with this class. I have no idea what's happening in there, but I can hear it. And then we've got the doorbell, and my husband is working in the room next door. So thank you for being patient with us. It gives me a clear sense of what families are going through. And so as I've thought about care with the others at Epiphany, this reality is certainly on my mind. And I made a slide to share. I think that the reason I'm having a hard time finding it is because what I was hoping was to share a file, because Kelly, you inspired me. We have a psychologist as a parent who works specifically with children, and she put together a really nice document with a lot of resources. So if I can get help from you or from someone for sharing documents, I could share those with you. But what I want to share today is just this slide, because I hear so many of the same themes from you that I'm feeling as I think about our families, and that is we want to offer formation, but we also really want to support people right now with connection and with relationship building. And then we want to be sensitive to the fact that internet fatigue is there, and that sometimes the best that we can be doing is presenting something that can be waiting for a family at the right time instead of asking for something live at that moment. And so those are the three main themes that I think about as I consider what we are wanting to do to serve our children and our families. And so some of the things that we're doing sound very similar to what is happening already, and I won't spend too much time on that, but we are also doing weekly virtual children's sermons. We pre-record them and we post them on our Epiphany YouTube channel, and then I email the link. And we've just started putting the link on our homepage. And the hope there then is that some families will choose to be active, and maybe during the live service that we have on Sundays, we'll be able to have the resource to have a screen for their kids to watch the sermon simultaneously. But I know that's not realistic. It doesn't work very well for my family often. And so that sermon is there on our webpage at any point and live for families that they want it, and we just switch it out each week. We have been doing interactive godly play, but just with one class. And you can see I include this picture just because it gives me joy to see some of those faces, even the funny green screen ones. This is Andrew, my 6-year-old, and it's his class. And I think that this age is not over Zoomed, at least not this group, it seems. So most of our students, more than come on regular Sundays, come to join this class. And I think it's probably because they really like to have the opportunity to see each other and to listen to their teacher tell the story. I don't have a lot of information on our faith and parenting webinar. Lindsay Stoliker, who's a seminarian working at Epiphany, is leading that, but she does that once a week in the evenings. And I think it's been a great option for families of upper elementary, middle school parents. Evenings are hard, I think, for parents of younger kids, but I know that that's gotten a lot of conversation going for some of our older families. And then finally, one thing we've done, Kelly, I heard you talking about the podcast. I can't wait to listen. And I think in that same vein of wanting something that's not a live video, we have done a lot with C.S. Lewis at Epiphany. And so born from that idea was the idea of having a reader's podcast, a reader's playlist for kids to listen to C.S. Lewis chapters being read aloud. And so we found parishioners to read chapter by chapter. And we started with The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and we're just finishing up Caspian. Don't look yet because chapter 13 is there, but 12 is missing. But we're almost finished. And it's become a little bit more of a multi-age resource now because we've had some webinars and other speakers on Lewis. And so we've combined it all into one playlist. But I've recommended it, and I know many families have been listening. And you can just press play, and kids don't have to watch the person reading it. But it is neat to see the different people from the parish, and that might be an option for some other folks with fewer kids, but more of a multi-generational congregation to all have a role in something for all the ages. And that's a playlist that's on our YouTube channel. If you are interested, I could pass a link, or you could just find it on YouTube.
Super.
Like that.
Having your son there reminds me that I think when we're doing programming for children and youth, if you do have children and youth in your home, it's so appealing to have the children with you because children love to see other children. So that's just, I'm sure that's something you have explored if you have the kids.
We've had some kids sermons with some definite Walker kid and guests, special guests.
Perfect. All right, Sue, moving on to you.
Nice to see everybody's faces today. Oh boy, I'm getting some great ideas. What I'm doing is fairly simple. Every Wednesday on my Constant Contact, I send out easy to read version of the Gospel of a sheet for age appropriate. Out the link to our Sunday. But my internet is unstable. Let me take my face away. Let's talk. There, I hope that's better. Okay, so I'm saying that on my Wednesday morning Constant letter, send out an easy to read version of the week's gospel. And then I send out activity sheets that go along with that. I also send the link to our Sunday. We meet at 9:30 on Sunday morning, and it's just a 25-minute before church starts at 10. And it's worked quite well. They really love it. Do a Sunday school lesson. We do a little bit of our children's chapel opening. They all know by heart. And we just discuss the lesson, and we talk about the faith trait that goes along with that lesson and how we can put that into action in our own lives. Youth are gathering once a week. They've tried different times. This week they're going to meet at after church to be around noon, I think. And they do that on Zoom. They play games and have a good time, and they've really going well. We are very lucky to have a significant youth group. It's a very small. Sunday school itself but that also works really well on Zoom. Let's see. Jason had referred to Camp Resurrection. So Jason's church, St. Michael's, my church, Holy Cross. I forgot to say I'm from Holy Cross in Redmond. And St. Margaret's in Bellevue teamed together to do Camp Resurrection. And we did a really successful camp last year. It's in person. We serve that migrant community by providing a young camp. It starts about 8 and ends about 4. And by the time the kid's home, it's 5 o'clock. But we've got sort of an affinity for that group and just of community with them, and we want to keep that going. We're not able to, as we did here in. So we're going to do Camp Row. Basically, what we're thinking is serving each household with groceries, and that household with STEM activity, literacy, mathematics. So perhaps a science project they would be able to complete during the week, all this working together. Simple that would keep them busy. And then also work, as I said, with literacy and math. Probably that would be Paige. We have looked into working with the Mount Vernon district, but decided that tutoring needs left to those professionals, and we're going to just continue to do what we can do best, which is just experiences. We're also doing book drives to be able to add chapter books and picture books to that to Greg. So this is still very much up in the air. I don't know if any of you know Bodolina. I think a lot of you do, but her father has been suffering from COVID-19, and it was very bad, but he is seeming to improve. And so we're very hopeful, but she has been so busy, and she is a key up there. So in order to get the names of these households and the ages of the children is still on. So we're hanging in there and hoping that we'll do something. Even if it's not all that we want to do, we will do something. So I'm busy with that. Golly, I think maybe that's all I have. I'm loving thank you everybody. I love the ideas of physical mailings that Mary was talking about, and I love the podcast idea as well. And so I'm looking forward to getting links from all of y'all.
Thank you, Sue. And don't forget Grace, who does their own week for Camp Resurrection. And Kim, you can touch on that, but use Grace as a partner too on reaching out to those families. And if you all are meeting together, make sure you pull all your resources together. And I'm excited.
Oh, well, we have. I've been in touch with Kim and Ren.
Sweet. Thanks, Sue. And I think we're at Emily. We've got Emily, Barbara, and Kim. So stay tuned. Okay, good.
I'm Emily, and Emily Tanislickle. I'm in West Seattle at St. John the Baptist, and I'm the family life minister. And we've settled on, at least for now, kind of 3 things that we're doing for families. One of those is I'm recording a weekly Sunday school lesson. It's just a few minutes long, and I pre-record it and premiere it to Facebook and YouTube on Sunday mornings, right before our main service. And then it's also available on the website. Those videos are usually 2 parts. First, I teach some kind of body prayer, and then I tell a story using the godly play method. Sometimes it's an actual godly play story. Sometimes it's just something I've written, just kind of using that methodology. And just very simple materials. And I'm fortunate I have a 17-year-old daughter who loves making things. And so I'll just say, hey, can you make me this? Can you make me that? Last week, I wanted to do a Julian of Norwich story. And so I'm like, can you make me a little Julian? So what she did. And so that's been fun. Realistically, I don't think a lot of families are watching it, but the older adults are watching it. And I'm glad they're enjoying it. So, I feel like there are enough people watching it to keep it going. But yeah, it is ironic that I'm making it for kids, but it's the adults who are watching it. The other thing I'm doing is a weekly Zoom. Sounds like similar to Katya. So that is fairly informal. I ask if they have anything they want to show. They love doing show and tell. It's just about 3 families who come, and 3 families of kids. And kind of to anchor it, to give it some structure, I put their prayer requests on paper leaves. So I have a bunch of these paper leaves. And then some of them like to say their prayer request out loud. The older kids like to type it in the chat. And so I put a prayer on leaves and then put them on a bare, well, the branch started bare several weeks ago. And then every week I add more leaves to it and then show them how the branch is growing leaves from all their prayers. And then I try and have one of our Sunday school teachers on that call too, so that teacher can interact with them and see the kids and so on. And I ask things like, what's something you've done to show kindness to others this week? And try and have kind of a missional component. And then probably the most successful thing we're doing is we're calling it Secret Saints, which is a care package program. So we found that we had a lot of adults with grown children that were just looking for ways to help. And so I emailed a whole bunch of them and said, would you be interested in making a care package for a stressed out, overwhelmed St. John's family? Got a great response. And so every family, there's about 20 families altogether. Every family is receiving this carefully curated care package from someone else in the congregation that we call Secret Saints. And it's been awesome because it takes quite a bit of coordination, but I'm not having to buy anything or put anything together or make any deliveries. I'm just the point person. So, I get a text saying, I just got one a few minutes ago from a person saying, oh, just about to make my delivery. So then I text the family and say, heads up, you might want to check your front door in a half an hour. And then, so I get the easy part because I don't even have to leave the house. But everybody's getting care packages and posting the photos on Facebook, and it makes them feel really supported. So I feel like that's probably been the best thing. We're already talking about doing like a second wave of care packages, and expanding it to essential workers in the congregation and other people who just need some extra care. And there's a lot of, like disclaimers that for anyone who doesn't want to shop, that's totally fine. Don't shop. You can make something or regift something, or, we're being as safe as possible about it. The one thing I'll mention did not work was youth group. I tried in the beginning of this Zoom youth group, and most of the kids are introverts. They don't want to go to a Zoom youth group, which I totally understand. And so I let that go pretty quickly. I referred one person to what the diocese is doing because I had one person interested. So that's about it.
Emily, this is Beth. Can you tell us what these packages, what you encourage your parishioners to put in the packages? What does that mean?
Sure. So I suggest a limit of $25, although some of them spend more. And I give a few ideas depending on who's in the family. So I'll say, these are the ages of the kids. I might suggest things like bubbles, children's books. I usually just give a few suggestions. And if it's teenagers, because if anyone has infant to high school senior, they get a care package. So if it's high school students, I'll often suggest snack food. If I know that the parents drink wine, I might suggest a bottle of wine. If I don't really know the family at all, I'll suggest, a plant. So I do make some suggestions.
Thank you. And moving on to Barbara.
Hi, so I'm Barbara Patgaya from St. Paul, Seattle. So what we've been doing is filming a Godly Play story and then putting it on our YouTube channel and also on our website. And then on Sunday mornings, we do like an abbreviated form of children's chapel, and then we screen share the video. And then we do the wondering questions live on Zoom, which we stick to just 2 questions. And generally the kids, participate quite a lot in that. And then we have a show and tell, and we have a Lego challenge. So our Godly Play stories mostly follow the lectionary. And so we ask the kids to make some kind of Lego creation, which is sometimes very peripherally, but related to the gospel reading. And they like to share that and what they've done. And that has been working pretty well. What hasn't worked well is we try to get parent get-togethers without the kids. And I think parents are feeling just too overwhelmed to do that. And we do have other resources on our website that are non-screen related.
Really sweet. And nice to see you. Welcome to the group. Cool. Kim.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for all your suggestions. They've been amazing. I'm from Grace Episcopal on Bainbridge Island. I live in Paulsbo, so pretty close by. And I'm the Minister of Faith Formation for both kids and adults. We do have a youth coordinator as well. I know I'm the last one and we're probably all pretty zoomed out, so I'm gonna try to be very succinct if I can. We really pivoted from a lot of plans for programming to a real vision for pastoral care, support, and relationship building. And one of the ways we did that is through what we call Grace Connects. That connected our most vulnerable population with less vulnerable people who would just check in weekly by phone call. And the kids' part in that is to send artwork. This has been a real opportunity for us to pour ourselves into paying careful attention and planning for 2 things, and that would be increasing involvement of kids in our worship. So very intergenerational worship, which was part of our vision from the beginning, but we've noticed in this format, in our Zoom format, that there's like an increased and deepened welcome for children there. I think people are really hungry to see children. We do have a pretty significant population who are older, some people who are quite isolated. So that's been a wonderful touch-in. We have children doing weekly readings, so they're involved in the lectionary. We had a couple kids singing with their father. We do a live Zoom, so we're able to bring in a lot of participants. And we have kind of a producer behind the scenes who checks in with all our participants at the beginning of, 30 minutes before our Sunday service starts. And he just makes sure that he just does sound checks and makes sure that people know to mute and unmute themselves, and he's right there if anything goes wrong. So those actually have been working really well. And we moved to that model after a couple of Sundays of pre-recording. And we do have a special time for kids after that. So we're still doing virtual coffee hour. And we break adults into random breakout rooms. And then on my personal Zoom account, I invite children and families to a time after church on just for children and families, anyone can join. And what we do during that time, it's not heavily programmed. It's once again about building relationships and hearing each other, which is truly what families seem most hungry for right now, instead of programming. So what we do is very loose Ignatian reflection there. We just ask, what's one great thing that happened to you this week that you'd like to share about? And what's something hard that you experienced that you'd like to share about? So we move through that. Sometimes it goes really smoothly, and sometimes we have people, changing their backgrounds, but it's just a very loving time, and we really enjoy that. We also invite children's participation through creating artwork ahead of time, or kind of a myriad different things. And what I'll do is I'll prepare that ahead of time and show that on Sunday morning. So whether it's a slideshow during Easter, all the kids made the letters of Alleluia with their bodies, and we put that together, and that played during a musical offering. This coming Sunday, Bishop Rickle is visiting, so one of our kids, who's a great artist, is making a comic strip of questions for the bishop, and we'll present that. So we try not to do things that are really cutesy, because I think kids should be taken as seriously as possible as true and full participants in worship. But it is just a beautiful way of including them. With parents, I've really been asking myself the question, what do families need and want in this time? I have 3 teens at home, so I'm privy to the incredible busyness that we're all dealing with right now. And what we've come up with for now, and it might change, is that what parents want is just to be heard. They want a space to share. So we have, bi-weekly or monthly parent meetings. Those are late at night. They're like from 9 to 9:45, because that's when the kids get in bed. And that has the same kind of Ignatian format. This week we will be talking together and reflecting on prayer for our kids, and just giving thanks for the wonderful individuals our children are, and their contributions to our community, and also taking time for intercession. Let's see. For the fall and winter, I've been in a lot of conversation with my priest about this. Just planning seemed really difficult to me, because we don't know exactly what to expect. Now we have guidelines from the diocese, and that document, I think Valerie came out like just a couple days ago, and that's really helpful. So in my conversation with her, what we're going to focus on is just really deepening our focus on intergenerational worship, how to keep including kids virtually and when we can in person, and that ongoing nurturing of our families through connections. And I guess I'll stop there.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna share screen again. Did we get to everybody? Speak now or forever hold your peace. We are a little bit low on time, so I'm gonna skip ahead if that's okay. Although the what didn't work, if you've got something that's really juicy, you know, something that's a real cautionary tale, I think that might need to be shared like right now. So pop in if you've got something, a word of warning.
Yeah, typing it in the chat.
Oh, sweet. That's a great idea. Thank you. And I will be downloading all of this and putting these into a more digestible format. So your recommendations and your what didn't work, and sharing that out more broadly. So yeah, if you have a caveat, then go ahead and type it in like Josh is suggesting. What's ahead? You may know Kay Flores, Reverend Kay Flores is going to be sharing with us Godly Play in a New Way. And this is how to do godly play on Zoom. It's lessons learned from across the country. And it's a Godly Play Foundation production that they offered 2 workshops and they filled up immediately. And she was able to get us one just for our diocese. So this is something that go ahead and sign up for. I haven't put an attendance cap on it. So you can invite your volunteers or anyone else who might be interested in providing godly play out to your families. Launch is something, thanks to Josh and others for saying, hey, we need to do something for our graduating seniors. Launch looked a little different last year. This year, we're just going to focus on honoring our graduating high school seniors, and Bishop Rickle will be leading a little ceremony. There will be music from teens. We will do a slideshow of graduating teens. We'll work with the families to make sure that each of the teens that participates, each of the seniors feels celebrated. So I've just got the word out to administrators at your churches, but if you would like that publicity package, you know, the logo and the details, I can send that out as well. So you can publicize and maybe send it out directly to your families. That's always the best way. Our Children and Families Ministry Leadership Meeting usually comes once a quarter, and this time we have the district regional coordinator of Messy Church. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with this. Messy Church has been around for several years, but it's an intergenerational fun event that I think would translate nicely to the virtual world. Everybody does a craft together. There's a little faith formation. There is food, but anyway, I think it's something that is really intriguing to me. And if you haven't interacted or if you're not aware of Messy Church, this might be your opportunity to get an introduction to it. Kim had mentioned, some of those questions about fall and of course summer. Please let me know if you would be interested in another Zoom casual conversation like this about what are we doing in lieu of VBS? What are we thinking about for fall? What's viable? And mentioning those bishops' phases, that has been helpful for me too in thinking about, okay, even if we go to phase 2, we're not even gathering with more than 50 people. So I mean, it's been a good reality check for me because I tend to lean towards the hopeful. Okay, and let's move on. Couple resources. Our Facebook page, man, Elaine Ogden is doing the editing on that thing. She's got a new post going up every few days. They're really relevant. So please check out our Facebook page and like it. That's Episcopal Children and Families of Western Washington. If you're not even already checking out Forma, another great place, Elaine actually posts a lot there. Josh posts a lot. Others of you probably post, but it's just a great collection of open source ideas from people who are doing faith formation internationally. It's incredible. So go there, Build Faith. Excellent website. Don't have to push that. You probably all know about it. Sharon Eli Pearson's blog, since Sharon has been so vital to providing webinars and everything else. for us. I've been really getting passionate about Rose of Sharon, her blog. So many good ideas there. Story Path is children's picture books tied to the lectionary. If you're looking to go sort of a picture book route, Picture Book Theology has always been my favorite go-to site. I have a secondary slide I'll just show you really quick when we're done with this little list about how helpful that can be in finding a picture book to tie into a theme. And that would be a secular children's picture book that ties into a theme. If you're concerned about those copyright issues, I was just on a webinar where they said many of the publishers are giving COVID-19 permission to read a storybook online, and that's for all educators. And so that click where you can see the list of publishers who've provided those permissions is right at that link, and that is peace of mind, right? You don't have to close your meeting or anything. You can share it legally. And then I was on another webinar where the woman who has for years, like, I don't know, maybe you guys know better, decades been doing the Sunday Paper and the Sunday Paper Junior, those lectionary cartoons, those little line drawings that you can color in and they follow the lectionary. She was talking about how in COVID-19, it's like the perfect time for these to come out. So maybe revisit that. She sends those out as PDFs, and then you have permission to send them out to as many people as you want in your congregation. So
Alex, can you move that up? We can't really see that on the screen.
Here, I move that up. Ooh.
If you can, Sunday Paper.
Yeah, it is. It's the-sunday-paper.com. And you can Google it too. Okay, and then just real quick on that picture book theology. At the bottom of every single one of her pages, she has this collection of topics and themes, alphabetical. So you, for instance, if you, difficulties, you could go, and it's A to Z, like I said, alphabetical, difficulties right there. She has 31 picture books, secular, beautiful picture books that relate to difficulties. Farther down on, you choose anything, God's providence, God's presence, faithfulness, family. So anyway, it's a great resource. If you've got a theme in mind and you want to share out a picture book, this might be your place to go. I love this resource. And I think that's it. Any last thoughts as before we go?
So something that I'm thinking about, and this is definitely a concern for many of our parents, is what are they going to do once school is out? So I thought this would be a great opportunity for some of us to get together and maybe plan like a virtual camp. And I'm torn because I'm like, I could either do this for youth or for children, but I don't have the capacity to do both. But I definitely think this is something where we as a diocese could just come together and provide camps for youth and for children. So I think I've just been so inspired by all the creative ideas that you have, and some of the things you don't even have to reinvent the wheel. We could redo some of the things that you have already done, and find ways for us to do like virtual drop-in hours that are, I'm trying to remember, safe church, following the safe church policies. But I think it's great to get that out there right now, and then maybe some of us can get together and start planning so we're prepared for when summer happens, instead of trying to scramble to put this together last minute. So just throwing that out there.
Thank you. I don't know if you caught the Virginia Theological Seminary webinar on VBS and how to do that virtually, but Elaine was kind enough to post that on the Facebook page. So that archived presentation is there, and man, there are a lot of good ideas, and there were about 100 people on that particular meeting, and the things they put in the chat in terms of ideas were brilliant. So I would definitely start harvesting from that and mining that for good ideas for the summer, but that's a start. I love the idea of a collaborative too, Katya, so that's something to definitely think about.
Can you repeat that? Virginia School of Theology's, what is it called?
It's a VTS, the Virginia Theological Seminary. And if you go to Elaine, the Facebook page, Episcopal Children and Families of Western Washington, you will see that link there. All right, everybody. I bet you're ready to get on with your day. Thanks so much. Love to you all. Hang in there. You're doing beautiful work.